What happens to abandoned villages and how they got that way in the first place is simply amazing. There are hundreds of abandoned villages throughout the world, each with its unique tale of how it came to be that way. Some may have been abandoned due to natural reasons, while others may have been abandoned because they no longer provided anything useful to the inhabitants. Here is a list of some of the most intriguing abandoned locations. Chaitén, Chile, South America. A volcano erupted in 2008, destroying the village of Chaitén. To make matters worse, the Blanco River flooded the whole town, rendering the residents unable to return. Almost 9,000 years before this devastation, the village was in the path of another volcanic explosion. The government was able to reconstruct the town a few miles away from the original location, but it was still too near to the volcano. There are destroyed houses and twisted telephone cables. Otherwise, there are little signs that anyone ever lived there. Oradour-sur-Glane, France. Some abandoned areas were natural, while others were man-made. This French hamlet was devastated in 1944 when a German Waffen-SS company slaughtered approximately 600 residents. Berlin, Nevada. Many cities in the American West were abandoned when miners extracted all of the gold they could find, moving on to the next city with a gold mining potential. Many of the communities still exist today and are famous tourist destinations. Pripyat, Ukraine. Many individuals are familiar with the Chernobyl accident. Due to the high levels of radiation present after the 1986 nuclear tragedy, the population of the town of over 5,000 were compelled to flee. According to scientists, it will take thousands of years before it is safe to wander about the region. Bruni Diamond Mine, Eastern Siberia, Russia. This abandoned place was once again constructed by man. Stalin dug the pit to order to meet the Soviet Union's desire for diamonds. The project and its procedure were eventually abandoned once it was discovered that digging such a large hole was too difficult. Seneca Lake, New York, farmhouse. A farmhouse, Seneca Lake, New York. The farmhouse serves as a makeshift graveyard for old vehicles and car parts, which isn't too spooky. Ryugyong Hotel, Pyongyang, North Korea. Work building the hotel proved to be more challenging than anticipated. It was planned to be a 105-story structure, but owing to the country's famine, work was halted just a few years after it began. It was stalled for 16 years until but build Thelding resumed in 2008. The outside is now complete and occupied, while the inside is still mostly abandoned. The Willard Asylum, New York, Willard. Willard Asylum, Willard, New York. It's hardly surprised that a crazy facility cuts the cut. It appears to be haunted in addition to being abandoned. The structure was built in 1869 and closed down in 1955. It formerly held roughly 4,000 patients, and over 50,000 persons who never left the institution were buried there. The mortuary is one of the most unsettling areas in the structure's surprising. Sanji UFO houses, Sanji, Taiwan. When construction began in 1978, the UFO dwellings were meant to be sold to the U.S. military. They were, however, abandoned by 1980 due to a lack of enthusiasm and finance. Six Flags Jazzland, New Orleans. Six Flags New Orleans was closed after Hurricane Katrina and never reopened. Several of the rides are still intact, and there is a discussion of rebuilding a new park, but for the time being it is broken and vacant. Gulliver's Travels Park, Kawaguchi, Japan. This park was developed just beneath Mount Fuji. The tourist attraction launched in 1997, but owing to financial difficulties, it was forced to close after only 10 years. Bannerman Castle, Polypal Island, New York. The castle's owner, Francis Bannerman Vi, had erected the structure for storage after purchasing American military waste from the Spanish conflict. In 1920, around 200 pounds of munitions blew up a large portion of the castle, forcing the owner to flee.